everyone, and welcome back to the Chill Chat channel. I hope that you guys all have had a happy new year. I wanted to start the Chill Chat on a positive note. For some, this subject may be positive because it's something that you really want to do, or for some of you guys, may be like, I thought it was positive. And I only say that because we're going to be talking about building your self-esteem. I want us to be able to go into 2022 with a healthy self-esteem. So all those things that we've been talking about on the Chill Chat channel, if we really want to put those into practice, I know that self-esteem may be something that may get in the way outside of some of the other factors that we have discussed already. But self-esteem can be really tricky because, like I said, sometimes it's literally the desire, I want to build my self-esteem up, but I don't know how to build my self-esteem up. Or is the other scenario where my self-esteem has been torn down so far, I don't even know where to begin to even start thinking positive about myself, start accepting myself in any kind of way. It's just too hard for me to even think about, and so that's why I wanted to start this year off with this topic, because I don't want us to hold ourselves back, which typically is what we do. We like to place blame on a lot of different factors and a lot of different things, and sometimes that may be the case, but other times it's really about us looking at ourselves and being like, all right, truth be told, I really did hold myself back. We really have that power over ourselves, whether we're going to have a good self-esteem. We allow ourselves to just hand over the permission of building our self-esteem to other people. And it can be tricky as well because, you do have a lot of people who are being raised, being talked to any kind of way. I remember I was in Walmart and I got really, really, really upset because it was a mother. She probably was, looking at people nowadays, you can't really tell their age because they either look younger or older. But if I had to guess, she was probably about 25, 27. And there was a little girl with her, and the little girl probably was about 7 to 9 years old. And the little girl, she was wanting to buy some candy, and the mom, she just started cussing her out, literally using foul language towards this child as if she was an adult. Not even that you should even be talking to an adult like that, just my personal opinion. But she was talking to her child and calling her child all of these negative things, calling her out of her name. It was just so disheartening, and it took everything within me not to say anything, because it was like, do you not understand what you're putting into the mind of this little one? You mean to tell me that me asking for a piece of candy makes me all these things? She called her stupid. She called her all kinds. I can't even remember at this point. I got so mad. And then what made it worse is that there was another young lady who maybe are too younger than the actual mom. She's standing there and she's laughing. She's laughing. She sees me staring over in their direction, and her response was to laugh at the situation instead of say something about the situation. And, sometimes, you really do got to stay in your lane, which is what I chose to do in that scenario as well. But I felt like my response, as far as looking at the mom crazy, how dare you talk to your child like that? I hope that it caused some response in her mind, I don't know if it did. I really don't know. But it just made me so sad to see a mom talk to their precious little one so derogatory, so mean, it was just sickening, to be honest. It was really sickening. And unfortunately, we have a lot of children growing up with parents who are talking to them like that, with friends who are talking to them like that. Kids are still being bullied, even more so now than before, as far as through social media and class, just because the difference in how they look, the difference in how they come across as far as their personality. You have all these different factors going on as to why people are being so derogatory towards each other. You have new clubs form, Black Lives Matter, all these other different things to fight for happening in the world. And it's just I really do believe that part of it, not all of it, but part of it is because we're not accepting ourselves as individual people, and we're not accepting ourselves within groups as well. And so we see a lot of the times that we are separating ourselves for the sake of not having to fit in with anybody, not having to be talked to the way that people like to talk to people nowadays. There's a great separation in when we separate ourselves. Our self-esteem is getting lower and lower and lower, when really, if you choose to separate yourself, you should be separating yourself because it's like, no, this is something I don't agree with, and I'm okay with that. So self-acceptance, number one. Self-esteem comes with self-acceptance. I am accepting myself for who I am, where I come from, and where I'm going. And sometimes the where I come from part is really hard, because a lot of people, unfortunately, are not proud of the families they come from. They're not proud of their parents. They're not proud of the way they were raised, or they're just not proud of themselves. I hear this a lot working with addicts. I ask them about their self-esteem all the time. I ask them about family background, because it really is interesting to get a glimpse into their lives and get a glimpse as to why they may feel about themselves the way they feel. Some of them, because unfortunately their moms, I work with women, so their moms was their primary example, and a lot of the times their moms were prostitutes and they were on drugs and things as well, and so they kind of followed that pattern, and so they learned at a very early age not to really care about themselves, just as they envisioned that their moms didn't care about themselves. And for whatever reason parents were doing, that is their business, no judgment towards that, but it caused a thinking pattern in their minds to think that it was either bad or that it was okay, or this is something that I'm going to have to do as well. And lo and behold, now you have decisions being made that is causing you to feel some type of way about yourself or think some type of way about yourself. So therefore, you have no self-acceptance, because you're either following the path of someone else, or you're who wasn't raised under that type of parenting. Maybe they were raised in a very healthy household and they got under the influence of some friends, or they were curious, or for whatever reason, and they end up in addiction. They themselves had to now start doing things to feed their addictions. This is stories that I hear on a daily basis, and it really breaks my heart, because it's almost as if they feel like they made a choice that they didn't have no other choices too. It's like, this is the only direction that I had. This is what drug addiction comes with, because they were so involved. It wasn't that, I have the choice to do this, I have the choice to do that. It became more of a way to be than actual choice that they had. So their self-esteem literally was just knocked out the water. Like they have zero to none, just simply because of their addiction or the things they're involved in. Outside of those who are in addiction and things like that on a regular basis, there's some things that we do, that we beat ourselves up for, and in return, negative self-talk. If you have not watched my video on negative self-talk, that is also another reason why you are having a low self-esteem, because you're talking to yourself crazy. You're literally talking to yourself in a derogatory way. You're talking to yourself the way that parent was talking to her daughter. And when you see that, you're like, oh my gosh, how can she talk to her daughter like that? But it's never that shock when we talk to ourselves that way. It's just like, oh, I can talk to myself that way because I'm me. It's fine. I already know who I am, blah, blah. And you're feeding yourself the thought that it's okay for me to treat myself any other way. But then we get in situations where people treat us crazy, and we're looking at ourselves like, why are they treating us crazy? Well, I just want to let you know that the energy that you are giving off is the energy that you are now going to attract. So when you're talking to yourself crazy or you're acting crazy, you're going to draw that type of same attention to yourselves. And then you're going to have a big ball of crazy, have relationships filled with low self-esteem. And it's just going to be a downward spiral. So until we learn to accept ourselves as who we are, now sometimes that is going to require some self-forgiveness. There may be some things, that you can't just lay aside. And when it comes to self-forgiveness, it's not about laying anything aside. It's about being able to forgive yourself, acknowledge what you have done, learn from what you have done, and take a different approach. Not act as if it never happened. Take a different approach. And that is where it begins, self-forgiveness and self-acceptance. You're recognizing the thing that you've done wrong. You're able to acknowledge it. From there, you are able to learn something from it. And then from there, you're taking a different direction. You're doing a 180, not a 360, but you're doing a 180. And you're changing that behavior. Sometimes easier said than done. And just to give you a heads up, sometimes it may take you more than one attempt. We like to do one attempt, and when it fails, we say, oh, I'm done with it. It's not going to work. No, sometimes it requires more. So you have to do more. Especially if you lived out a habit of 10 to 15 years, you can't wake up the next day and be like, hey, bye. I'm not going to do that no more. And for some, miracles have happened. And for some, that is exactly what happened. But more often than none, says of you being able to change from one thing to the next. So being able to accept yourself, be able to forgive yourself is going to be a major factor in you being able to build up your self-esteem. The other thing that rings a bell to me when I think of self-esteem is being able to remove the stigma of me being a part of something means that I have to be that something. Like, I'm a firm believer that, there are many people in friendships because of personalities, and those personalities bounce off of each other, and boom, you have great friendships and great relationships. If everyone was the same, that would get boring really quick. So just you're a part of a friend group, or you're a part of a relationship, or you are part of a minority. That doesn't mean that you have to carry the same personality or same characteristics as those that you are a part of. You still have to be your individual self. And being your individual self, you'll add more value than what you add if you're trying to be exactly like everyone else just for the sake of being like everyone else. So until you learn exactly who you are, if you haven't watched my video on do you really know yourself, I encourage you to go back and watch it, because it really does give some insight into how well you know yourself. And also my video on how well do you trust yourself, because that falls right back into this whole conversation. So I encourage you to go back and watch those videos if you have not watched those videos. But being able to be yourself, even within a relationship or within friendships or in family ships, it is important for you as yourself, because you are the only self that you can be. You can attempt to be someone else, and you may be good at it for a while, but you're going to find yourself in a really uncomfortable position, and you're going to find yourself with more negative self-talk, less self-esteem, because you're never going to be able to fulfill that. So self-acceptance, forgiveness along the way, and allowing yourself to really just be your individual self and stop trying to be like everyone else, or stop trying to mimic the group that you are part of. I am African American. Some people choose not to believe that because I'm light skinned. I literally had a battle with this, you guys. I don't understand why, but when I used to work in a hair store, there were people that would come up to me and be like, hey, what race are you? And I'd be like, I'm African American. And they'd be like, no, you're not. I'm like, you're really telling me what I am? Like, I had that problem all growing up, and actually before I even moved to Tennessee, I was way lighter than this. So it was literally like, people would try to literally come up against me because they literally did not believe my race. It was actually pretty weird, but whatever. Well, I am African American, and just because I'm African American does not mean I'm going to do everything that every other African American does. And for everything that an African American does, it doesn't mean that my behaviors is going to be like every African American. We all have our different roles to play. We all were designed with different purposes, and in order for us to be able to fulfill that purpose, we have to first accept ourselves. In the process of figuring that out, in the process of going through that, there's going to be times where you're going to do some self-forgiveness. And also have to remember, maybe a part of a group or minority or even a relationship, but I don't have to surrender myself completely to fit in, to be something that I am not. I am still going to be my individual self, and I'm going to accept myself, and I'm going to be happy with that. So I hope that this video was an encouragement to you. Like I said, for some, it's like, woohoo, yes, I need some self-esteem. I need to be able to build that. And for others, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, I've been trying to work on this for years. And encourage you even further, I've been working on it for years. And I'm finally getting to the point where I'm just like, you know what, I am so tired of being every and anything else besides myself. Like, I just want to step into myself wholeheartedly and just be the best me that I can be, because I am the only one who can be me. And I found out that when I was being my most pure self, that I received the most compliments. I had the most self-fulfillment. I was the most happiest. I was laughing. I was just 100% me. Like, those were the times in my life that I felt more fulfilled than anything else. Than when I was trying to be like something else, or I was trying to fit into something else, or, blah, blah, blah. It was when I was being my wholehearted self that my world was different. And I want that every day. I want that for you every day. So I hope that this conversation is a conversation that will help start your year off right. If you are to the Chill Chat channel, welcome to the Chill Chat channel. If you're returning, I want to say thank you once more for subscribing to the channel and being a support. But most importantly, I pray really that we can be a family on here and that we can continue to build each other up. And until next time, you guys, I pray that you have a blessed and beautiful day. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you have not, if you want to continue to see content just like this one. Until next time, you guys, bye.